Hello folks out there in YouTube land. It's time for another unboxing video today of the BattleTech variety. Today will be the Game of Armored Combat box set, which is the second box of the presently available 3 that you would go for. Hopefully you saw our beginner box set video. If not, if I do this right, there should be a link somewhere up around here for it. Before we continue, in case you're at all curious, this shirt here is the symbol for one of the clans, Clan Star Adder. These were available during the Kickstarter campaign for the clan invasion, and although they haven't said as much yet, everyone is hopeful that for the Mercenaries Kickstarter, which is supposed to start here in a couple months, that there will be more shirts. I don't know if these will still be available or if it's going to be strictly the mercenary themed shirts. Have to wait and see. As I'm recording this, just a few hours ago, Catalyst did start their next Kickstarter, which is for a game called Leviathans. And there are shirts available there for that. So that's a good sign that hopefully we will see these because they're not available for purchase elsewhere. But just to explain what this actually is here. So anyway, on with the boxing. As I explained in the other video, yes, these do actually come wrapped in cellophane. Unlike the other one, I have not opened this one just yet. So we'll be doing that right now. Depending on the state you live in, the knife I'm using is probably illegal. However, in my home state, they are not. Alright, so now that task is out of the way. Before I open it, we'll show you I don't think there's anything really descriptive around the outer edges. It's just the BattleTech logo and a little bit of the same artwork here. The back, as in the intro to BattleTech video, just briefly talks about the contents, because obviously you want to know what's in the box before you buy it. So, just shows you a little bit of the stuff, some of the miniatures, the maps, the cards, So, let's open this guy up and see what we got here. Alright, so as with the other box set, there is another very short fictional story here. This one is Eye Storm. Yeah, Eye Storm. I believe that's the same gentleman who wrote this one as well. And let's take a look inside here. As with the other one, we have some artwork. The terms that you may not be familiar with if you've never read BattleTech fiction. This story is also 20 pages like the other one, so just a brief little, hey, here's what you can expect from BattleTech fiction kind of story, a little bit of setting in the universe. Probably also to deal with mercenaries. Yeah, Colby's Command, so it's another mercenary story like the other one. So again, your 2d6, which are the only dice you technically need. But for those of you who play RPGs or any other games, you know that you will definitely be buying others at some point, because everyone likes the math rocks that go clicky-clack, as the online goblin would say. Again, we have cards. Now this time, there are other cards in here that I actually do know what they're used for, unlike our other video. These are the Alpha Strike cards. So whenever I talk about Alpha Strike, these are the kind of stats you have. And compared to our other video, and I believe in here we'll have some others to show you the full scale, but note that these are much, much simpler. You only have an armor and a structure rating. You've got the damages at the various ranges, a heat scale, the type, the size, the movement. All these have some kind of role or another in the game. Special abilities, like the Battlemaster here has a rear-facing weapon, which goes out to the short and medium range, but not the long range, denoted by the hash marks there. And then the critical hit table is very streamlined. So Alpha Strike, as we mentioned in other videos, is quite a bit more streamlined. Like this here, so the Battlemaster here has 3, 6, 8 armor points. But once those have been chewed through, you get into the structure and you start taking critical hits. So in one turn, if a couple decent shots hit this thing, it will be destroyed. Like if it's fighting another battle master at short range, it's going to do 3 damage. Okay, so if your opponent has a few mechs to your 1, or tanks or what have you, you can chew through battle mechs very quickly. I've heard it described as once the battle's engaged, you're typically losing at least 1 unit per turn because everyone focuses fire. So on the back is the Awesome, which is another mech here in the set. That's the other thing I'll get to here in a moment. These mechs have a bigger range of sizes and armaments. The Thunderbolt, a different, so that's the 5 SE, and then the back side of that is just the 5S Thunderbolt, the Catapult, the K2 variant, the C1 variant, and I don't know enough just right off the top of my head to tell you what the differences between these are, but it'll have to do with armor, movement, weaponry, like here for the Catapult. You see that it has 6 armor rating, 5 structure, damage is 332, movement of 8, whereas the other variant has armor of 5, structure of 5, so less armor, 232, so less long range damage, 8 movement. However, the J there denotes jump jets, which essentially allow it to fly. So there's a trade-off you have to make for the greater mobility. You're losing armor and long range damage. So because the tonnage stays fixed. So to add something like the jump jets requires it to take up space in the mech. So you're going to lose out on a weapon or armor or both, just depending on what the trade-off is in the variant. But then we have the Wolverine with a different variant on the back, the Shadowhawk. This one's actually a specific version apparently, which means it's probably a unique. Durant Carlisle. Carlisle's a mercenary name versus the regular Shadowhawk, one of its regular variants. The Griffin, which this would have been in the beginner set. There's not a Griffin in this set. And here, the Commando, again the same. The Locust, and again the same. I'm actually kind of wondering whether Battlemaster and the Awesome don't have different variants, but anyway. And then we have the cards, like in the other, to have pilots and certain special abilities and cost to employ them. So then, the thing we probably all really want to see are the 8 mechs that come with it that have full 3D printed figures. Now, we have ones at the much smaller end, like the Locust. By the way, these were all redesigned from the ground up, new artwork, and part of the program that they use for the 3D modeling enabled them to figure out, like, in terms of their mass, how big they should be relative to one another once they set the ground rules with a couple of them, similar to how the Transformers movies make sure that the robot modes have the same mass as the vehicle mode, so that they don't become like ridiculously large or small in comparison to the vehicle, as opposed to the cartoons, which they didn't matter. So they try to do that, and so that's why these, relative to each other, should have certain sizes. This is the Commando, unless I'm mistaken. It's another mech on the smaller end, and like to give you like a comparison, this is the Thunderbolt. Okay, and you can see, it has large, very visible armaments, but also in comparison to the Locust, is clearly a much larger machine that can probably take quite a bit more punishment as well as dish it out. We see the Shadowhawk here. Then this is the Catapult. Much like the Locust, you'll note that this doesn't have arms. It just has the rocket pods, although on the sheet those will be represented by the arms because they're just one static generic picture for the large record sheets. The This would be the Wolverine, which is replicated from the beginner box. And one of the reasons why the new beginner box is going to feature a different mech replacing this, so that across the two there are 10 different mechs instead of duplicating the Wolverine. Then we have the Awesome, which it is awesome. And again, much like the Thunderbolt, you can tell this is a very large machine that can really dish it out. And then the Battle Master. Which, like the other two, again, very large, lots of armaments, lots of armor. So yeah, like here's a real different size comparison here. The Locust and the Battle Master. Now, tactically speaking, the plan with the Locust would actually be to use its superior speed to get behind the Battle Master, because the armor plating on the back side of the battle mechs is not so great. So then we remove the plastic shell here on the inside, and we have several books. This is the primer, which I believe, make sure here, yeah, this covers like the BattleTech universe in brief, the various eras. They all have symbols on various products. You'll find these to denote which era they are. This is the same 3025 map that we saw in the the beginner box set. Then we have talking about the Star League, the prehistory to the setting, then kind of going into the various houses. You know, House Davian, which is known as the Federated Sons; House Kirita, which is known as the Draconis Combine; House Lau, which is known as the Capellan Confederation; House Merrick, which is the Free Worlds League; and then House Steiner, which is the Lyran Commonwealth. So then we also have a brief overview of mercenaries and their role in the setting, because there are lots and lots of mercenaries in the BattleTech universe because of all the various wars and battles. There's salvage to be had all over the place. There are soldiers with training all over the place, disillusioned with their former employers, so mercenaries are a really big thing in the setting. And it's kind of talking about, you know, battle mechs, mech warriors, some of the other kinds of products, you know, like where do you go from here, like the technical readouts. If you're going to be playing with the full rules and you only want to deal with battle mechs, this is the book you want. It's the Battle Mech Manual, and it doesn't really go into vehicles or anything else. It's basically just that. Now, Total Warfare is if you want everything. Mechs, tanks, fighters, space stuff, infantry, the whole 9 yards. And then the Alpha Strike Commander's Edition took the two older Alpha Strike rulebooks and merged them into one single rulebook, so that everything is here now. If you're going for Alpha Strike, this is the book you want. Now, depending on when you buy them, the covers could look different from these, because they do change the cover artwork periodically. Also, for classic BattleTech, the Total Warfare book, there are other books like Advanced Weapons, books to carry out like a whole campaign. I believe that one's called Strategic Operations. There's several books in the whole series. Their spine artwork will also create a picture once they're all together. So if you care about that, make sure you're buying the same editions for all of them, so the spine artwork lines up, because that also changes. So just something to note there. And then, of course, lots and lots of novels. This is a drop in the bucket, because the novels cover something like 400 years of history, I want to say. 2750 to 3150, I believe. So yes, about 400 years of history. So lots of novels take place across different eras. Not a whole lot back in that 400 years ago part, or 650 years in our future part, depending on how you want to look at it. Most of it is in the 3025 to 3150 era. So then you also have the rule book, which you'll note is considerably more substantial than the one in the starter set. Yeah, this one is 56 pages long. So this covers, I'm going to guess it covers the short brief rules that were in the other, but also this is the almost real rules right here. So it's going to cover a lot. It's not going to cover the advanced technology, but it's going to cover a lot of stuff. You could conceivably just use these rules if this is all the farther you wanted to go with the rules. And then on the back, we have painted versions of the various battle mechs. And again, you don't have to paint these if you don't want to. These are professionally done. So if you're just starting out, don't think you're just going to be able to knock it out of the park and be like this. I mean, you might. You could be a whiz, but probably not. This takes a lot of effort, all kinds of paint steps. Mine that I have painted don't look this good. They look as good as I think they're ever going to look. So now, the other box set had brief record sheets. This is what the full record sheet looks like. Okay? So here, like the Locust, these dots are the armor points that are in each of the sections: the arms, the legs, the head, the rear torso, and then this is the internal structure points. Now, this is because the Locust is a tiny machine, so not a lot of armor. The heat table here. This is like the wet. This is all the stuff that's in each of the sections of the mech. Okay. Now, if we flip to the back, because these go by size. Actually, that's a generic one. Now, the back is a generic one, so hang on just a second. Let me show you. Yeah, here we go. This is the one for the Battle Master. As you can see, a lot more armor, you know, a lot more internal structure to chew through, all kinds of weapons. So the larger these things are, the harder they are to kill, and the more they can hit. And so then the back here is a generic one. And if you're going to use any of these, obviously either like scan them into your computer or photocopy them so you can use them over and over again, or laminate them and use markers. But this, if you know what you're going to be doing with them, you fill in the points until you get down to the only ones being available. Like, say you're going to do, say you had the data for the Locust here, and just taking the arm here, that there are 4 armor points. So what you'll do is you'll fill in all these dots until there's only 4 remaining open, and then you'll use the record sheet from there. And that's how you take the data. If you have, I'm told that you can take the technical readouts and do this. It's a little bit beyond me, but I'm told it's possible. But also all the ones in the boxes are available on the Catalyst website. The rest for the other variants and everything else, they're available. I'm sure with some searching you can find them. Now, we have 2 maps in this because you need a larger area. So here is the forest side of one of the maps. And as I mentioned in the other video, there are different elevations. And you can see here, like your base elevation is just level 0, but this is level 1. So you've now gone up a step. This is level 2, so you've gone up another step. Then they can also still have the wood features or rivers if they were to happen to have any on here, which they don't. Looks like we have some level 3s up here. And so differences in elevation do affect lines of fire, firing ranges, things like that. Like if you're down here, there's a level 2 thing right here, it's going to be harder or impossible to hit something over here depending on its height, which is covered in the record sheets. And then the back side is a desert. And I don't think we have any sunken ground anywhere. So it's still just going up. But these can also go down, which I believe then they'll be negative levels is how they do it. So that's one of the two maps. Now the other map has several other terrain features. We have a road going through, and at the full rules, concrete does have special rules that involve you potentially sliding on it if you step on it wrong. There's water, which has a depth rating to tell you how deep it is below. And also water affects heat buildup for the mechs, and also like lines of fire, like if you're completely submerged, it's difficult for you to fire out and hit something. You know, things like that. As you can see, you know, it's a river obviously going through. And then the backside is again desert. And with a little bit of water this time, and again, you know, small rocks and elevation trees. We have just random rough terrain instead of smooth. You know, it's a bunch of big piles of rocks. And of course, the two maps are meant to go together to make a larger battlefield. And you could presumably combine them with the third map if you have the other box set as well to make an even larger field to fight on. But you need more room whenever you have more mechs like this. And then this comes with a cardboard sheet that has all the little various modifiers that you need to worry about throughout the game. And so there's a lot of stuff here, but once you've read through the rules and know how things interact, this is the main thing that you need. And it is double-sided. But this is like the brief summary of, okay, so you're doing, you know, you're shooting through X from this elevation, this distance, you need this number, and, you know, you modify. Also, BattleTech is a low numbers are good setting, not the high numbers. You'll notice like a lot of the modifiers are positive modifiers. They're adding to the rolls that you're rolling. So you want to roll low, because at the high end you're going to miss. So, and then of course this also comes like with the other, with the cardboard standees. Now there are 9 this time, which means that the Griffin is excluded on this one. So it is truly unique to the beginner box set. And then also you have some terrain down here, you know, to spice up the maps. And of course on the back side, you've got the back sides of the mechs, but also desert versions of the terrain. This is for once the maps are down. Presumably you and your opponent get a certain number of these, and you can adjust the map as you see fit with these. So this gives you 9 more mechs to work with.
On the desert when it was sub-level.
Oh, yeah. Okay. As my compatriot filming here just advised me, yeah, it apparently is sub-level, not -1, is how they go for it, to show that they're below the level 0, the average ground level. So, yeah, and then obviously the water was depth. But yeah, sub-level, I did not notice that, and thank you, Chad, for pointing that out to me. So, again, you know, as long as you're not committed to, I absolutely have to have 3D things, this instantly doubles +1 the number of units you have to work with. And again, if you have the other box set, you have the 2 physical miniatures plus the, I believe it was 4 standees. So if you have these 2 boxes, collectively you're looking at 8, 9, 17. If I'm right about 6 of the other, that's 23 units to work with. That's a lot. That's a lot of variety. That's great.
That's 5.
Okay. Too late now. So, yeah, so that's what's in the box here. So between these 2 boxes, you know, you've got a lot to work with. You start with the other one to get a feel for how the rules work, and then you move up to the more complicated rules, and then if you want to go all the way, you buy either the Total Warfare book or the mech manual, depending on if you want to use vehicles or not. Basically, that's really the only difference between them, as I understand it. Like I said, I play Alpha Strike. It's one book and these cards. Also, you don't actually need these cards for Alpha Strike because all of the records for Alpha Strike are free under the Master Unit List, which if you just search for Master Unit List, BattleTech, that's what it should take you to. And you just go through and search by mech or vehicle. The only kind of tricky things you get into is some of the infantry. You need to know what they're called, which you should probably just go into the infantry tab and figure that out. But anyway, so that's it for this video. We are going to try to also get the Clan Invasion box set unboxing, so keep an eye out for that. Hopefully we'll be doing that here real shortly. And like I mentioned in the other videos, we're hopefully going to get a hold of the 2 new boxes at Gen Con, in which case we will also have those to unbox and show everybody, and that'll be the first for us seeing them as well. So keep your fingers crossed for that. Keep an eye out for the other videos, and thank you for watching.